Hi everyone, September here. So the patch 1.3 for Genshin just went live several hours ago along with Zhongli's adjustments. I tried using him in various locations, so I'll talk about what I feel about the buff right now. So let's take a look at the updated skills first. For hold E, they changed it so that if you don't have a, a pillar down, it will also give you a pillar along with the shield, so you no longer have to choose between having a shield or having a pillar, which is greatly beneficial, and it will create one at a time. So if you have him at Constellation 1, you need to do this 2 times to hit the maximum amount of pillars, and the damage hasn't changed though. Then the other thing is that for his Dominance of Earth passive, it also starts to increase bonus damage based on his maximum HP for the resonance damage and the normal attack damage. So for most people, we kind of build Zhongli with the HP build, so it would actually give a slight increase to his damage in overall. Let's take a look then. For me, personally, I have him like almost 33k HP, so it would kind of buff his normal attack damage by 450 and also the resonance damage by about 600. But actually, that's not the only increase in damage that I have found, because it also stacks with the fact that if you have the shield up, you actually decrease the resistance of enemies in a small AoE by 20%. This of course applies to his own self, so I found that his melee attack combo damage has increased by quite a lot, which is good enough to compensate for his previously very low percentage. So the damage for his normal attack is not actually what is shown here just by itself. You also have to add the Dominance of Earth damage and also multiply up the Jade Shield debuff damage in calculation with the mobs that you're fighting against, because different mobs have different resistance values towards different types of attacks. And the last thing that was updated is the Geo Elemental Resonance. So Enduring Rock will now give you increased shield strength and increased attack like before, but dealing damage will decrease enemies' geo defense by 20%. This is pretty important because this is one of the only methods you're able to reduce geo resistance of anything. So for the other elements, you're able to use it quite easily if you have Venti with his Green's Grand Ode or Sucrose, or even Beidou has electro resistance now. So now there is a possible way to implement geo resistance down in the game itself. So the overall DPS of geo characters will increase if you're running a geo focused team. So that's pretty good. And like I said last time, I also did a run of the Golden House using only Zhongli. So let's take a look here. So first and foremost, the difference you can see is that as soon as I summon the shield, the pillar will also appear. So not having to choose between the pillar or the shield will let you increase his energy regain, which is 1 particle every 2 seconds. And while it takes some positioning for you to make sure that the boss will always be within the pillar hit range, you can do it without too much difficulty and resummon and reposition the pillar anytime you want. And the second thing that you can observe is that the melee combo damage has increased by quite a lot. It's almost 2 times the previous damage, not only because of the passive HP converting to damage, but also because of the resistance down. As long as you keep the Jade Shield up, then you'll be able to inflict the 20% resist down at any time you want. And this is why shield strength is so important for Zhongli if you're using him as a main DPS, because as soon as your shield breaks, not only do you lose the protection, you will also end up losing the debuff and makes you lose a lot of damage. Because by playing Zhongli, you are basically facing the boss head on, then it's inevitable that you are going to eat a lot of damage regardless of how good your dodging skills are. So in my previous video, someone suggested that I should recommend an alternative build, which is using 2-piece Bloodstained and 2-piece Noblesse to keep up with both the meter damage and the melee damage. But I still find that the 4-piece Bolide is more useful because, for one thing, if you're going to be focusing on melee damage, then giving additional 20% burst damage is not going to be as much as your melee combo damage because your meter won't be able all the time. That's just, you either have melee damage or you have meter damage. And you know, the stronger the shield, the longer you can tank. Well, so I finished this run like way faster than the previous one. I think it was about 1 minute and 52 seconds as opposed to my previous run, which was exactly 3 minutes. So yeah, his DPS has increased like just by himself for approximately 33%. I think that's pretty good. The other thing is I also tried doing another run with him, but with a full duo composition. So Zhongli, Albedo, and 2 random characters to activate the synergy, but I didn't get it to be much faster than just him soloing. Then again, this is because most of his damage comes from the melee combo, and the Enduring Rock synergy will only give you 20% geo defense down. So it will increase the pillar damage and the meter damage, but not his melee damage. The other thing I want to sort of stress as a Zhongli main is that the power of shields in this game is really not to be underestimated, especially for people who are not very good at controlling stuff, like me, for example. If you have a high enough shield, you can simply ignore all incoming damage. You can ignore the leyline disorder damage in artifact domains if you use the wrong elemental combination. A shield is strong enough to block direct charges from world level 8 Andreas. So as you can see, having shields versus having no shields actually makes a very big difference. So if you evaluate Zhongli based on the utility of his shields, I would think that he's actually a very well built character for this role. And the fact that they patched up his DPS makes it less painful to run him in a team. I do still personally mourn the fact that he's not a DPS anymore, but he has always been a core member of my player experience with his ability to make everything less painful. So yeah, all in all, I'm satisfied with the patch, and I hope that in the future shields can shine more in difficult content so that shielders are more valued in team compositions other than just having pure DPS and damage supports. Genshin is a game that you can play in many different ways based on what characters you choose to use and what combinations you choose to use based on what you're playing. So I'm quite happy that they buffed Geo as an element as a whole, because it allows for the defensive style of playing where instead of going in and doing massive amounts of damage in a short window, you can sort of take your time to fight the bosses. You might not do as much damage as a reaction, pyro, melt, or vaporize team, but the reassurance that you're not going to die from knockback or not being able to heal fast enough is beneficial for some parts of the player base that shouldn't be ignored as well, because not every player has the ability to roll high-powered characters like Diluc, or the ability to play the game on the PC, which will let them dodge better. So having Geo shields as a mechanic and making it viable as a DPS, to run as a DPS as well, caters to the less advantaged players in the player base. So it's because of this reason that I have remained loyal to Genshin as a game as a whole, and it's not a bad thing to change up the tactics and not just change big DPS numbers all the time. That being said, thank you for watching this video and listening to me talk about Zhongli. I'll continue releasing the various domain speedrun videos, so please look forward to them. Thank you!